What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I hope you like this video. This is going to be a review for Sisters Season 2, Episode 2. So, they gave us a double whammy last night. I could only get the first one out. I couldn't get the second one out. But we pick up where we left off with Andy coming home. The FBI is all up and through her apartment, and it's that same FBI agent, and he's telling her, look, you need to go. And Andy's trying to go up in her apartment. She was like, wait a minute, this is my house. This is my stuff. Like, you can't just be taking my stuff. He was like, everything in here belongs to the FBI. And I was like, dang, girl. Girl. And just at that moment, that daggone Danny come walking up. And, of course, Danny is like, what the hell is going on here? And they they get Andy out of there, whatever, and they all decided they're gonna go back over to Danny's house. Well, while they're driving, they decide they're gonna go to Sabrina's house, because why would you go to Danny's house? As a matter of fact, tell Danny she can go to her house. We going to Sabrina's house, because Danny just be doing too much. Y'all know Danny. She does way too much, and it's just at the wrong times. And this whole episode, she was annoying as hell. Like, this whole episode, I was sitting here like, and why y'all friends with her again? Like, she was that annoying. But so on the way over there, Andy is giving Karen the breakdown, and of course, Karen was like, well, girl, did you know he was stealing money? And she was like, no, I didn't know any of it. And so, Karen is kind of questioning her a little bit, like, girl. And of course, Andy is, looking stupid, feeling stupid, as she should, because some of this stuff is just silly. But the other stuff, men will lie. Like, people lie all the time, and people get caught up in their lies and all that, silly stuff, child. Now, in the meantime, they done called Karen at work. Sabrina at work, to let her know that there was going to be a little change in plan. And her boss is there. Like, the big boss is there. And the big boss, like, calls her over and is like, listen, I have a question about a deposit you did made. A transfer you made. And come to find out, the FBI done called about that wire transfer that she did, where she put that money into Andy's account. And she didn't follow protocol. And she didn't follow protocol because Andy was her friend. And her boss was like, listen, you made a deposit of this amount of money into somebody's account and you didn't follow the proper protocol. And this fool gonna say, well, she was my friend. That's all the more reason why you supposed to follow proper protocol. I mean, we've all done it. I get that. But that's not what I would have said to my boss. Like, I wouldn't have been like, oh, yeah, I ain't follow proper protocol because she was my friend. Girl, you should have came up with something else. I don't know. Say she sent the paperwork and you can't find it. I don't know. But anyway, her boss sent her home, told her, she said, well, am I fired? She said, you're not fired, just take your purse. That sound like you fired. When they tell you leave your ID and leave your keys, that sound like you probably not coming back. I'm just saying. So, of course, now Sabrina in her feelings, and she feeling some kind of way. She get back to the apartment, and you're in that situation where you did a favor for a friend that you shouldn't have done, and now you got in trouble. So you mad at the friend, but you mad at yourself too. It's kind of like that situation. Now they're all back at the apartment, and down to Andy's job, the FBI done shown up. Now that same FBI agent, he's getting around really quickly, because they done finish, I guess, doing whatever they were doing at her apartment, and they back down to her job before they even get to the daggone get to Sabrina's apartment. I said, damn, he is quick. So they get there, and Fatima, y'all remember Fatima, her old assistant, she sort of stalls them so she could go in Andy's office, and she done cleared Andy's hard drive and cleaned off her desk. Now, Tyler, I let you get away with a lot. I've been letting you get away with a lot. It's the season premiere. I haven't been, real hard on y'all, but I gotta call bullshit on this one. And I'm gonna tell you why I gotta call bullshit on this one. Andy was fired. Her assistant brought her stuff in a box to her. Now, I don't know about y'all, but when they do that, like, her office is already clean, okay? Her office is clean. That desk is cleaned off. That hard drive is already cleared. Let me tell you something. I voluntarily quit a job one time. I didn't get fired. I voluntarily quit, okay? The end of the day, was 5 o'clock. I was still there, tightening up some stuff, finishing up some loose ends. It was my last day on the job. I was making sure everything was everything. Child, my email was cut off at 5 o'clock. Okay? After 5 o'clock, they had already put it in that I couldn't even do nothing else. I was already out the system. So I know when you got fired, you talking about something, you got to clean her hard drive. That hard drive should have been cleaned already. All of her cases have been reassigned. I mean, she had a notepad on her desk and stuff. Yeah, I know that ain't what that. But I've been letting stuff slide, so I'm gonna let that one slide. But I just had to let you know that I saw that, okay? And so she's trying to call Andy, but remember, Andy don't have her phone. I was waiting for her phone to ring and for me to be like, when Andy get her phone back, but it didn't. She didn't have her phone. So Andy actually ended up calling Fatima because she was like, there was a tax attorney at her old job that she thought she might be able to call to see if he could help her out, with her situation. And so Fatima answered the phone and was like, girl, I've been trying to call you. Where you been? And she said, I don't have my phone. What's up? She said, well, the FBI has been down here, but don't worry. I ain't telling them nothing. Fatima was like, Andy was like, it's nothing to tell them. I didn't do anything. She said, girl, it don't matter. I ain't telling them nothing. So then she said, and I went in your office and I cleaned your hard drive and I took your stuff off your desk. Anything. She said, Fatima, there was nothing. Like you, girl, can you just give me the phone number to the dude for the tax attorney? And Fatima said, you don't want him. And this is when I started getting suspicious of Fatima. Now, it didn't last long, but in this moment, I was like, maybe Fatima is in on all of this, because to me, cleaning her hard drive, let's assume for a minute they hadn't cleaned her hard drive yet. Okay, fine. That would make her look guilty to me, because there's a difference between, I deleted a few files versus I cleaned your hard drive. And you do know they can see the timestamp on when all that happened. So they can see that you went in there and cleaned the hard drive when the FBI showed up. Like, technology is what it is. Like, they can see all of that. So to me, I was like, is she setting Andy up? Like, I feel like, and now you telling her, girl, you don't want him. You want this other lawyer. Let me tell you about this other dude that can help you out. And I was thinking, ooh, Andy, I think she might be setting you up. But then later on in the episode, we see her talk to the other attorney and come to find out that he really is a good friend. They're friends of the family. Like, they grandmamas know each other, go to church together, and that's her connection to him. And they also had like a little flirty thing going on. So I said, okay, maybe Fatima is legit and she really is trying to help Andy out. Because I ain't lying, for a minute it was looking real suspect and I was trying to figure out what Fatima's angle was. But okay, I see it now. I'm gonna let them have that. So, back to the apartment. Okay. Well, let me go ahead and talk about Calvin. Calvin went to go see Maurice, right? And of course, Maurice was being Maurice, honey. Flirting, being a little extra. And again, I like Maurice, but I think Maurice is just too much. Like, that's your friend's man. And you already know that's a sensitive situation with everything going on. And you are just flirting with this man, like straight up flirting. But Calvin laughed it off, and they had a good little conversation or whatever. And then he was like, well, how about going out for a drink with me sometime? And Calvin, Maurice tried to say no, he wasn't really up for it. But then he was like, well, no, that's fine. He was like, no, for real, I'm serious. We're gonna go out for a drink, because of course he's trying to get him to the drag show. Because Maurice was like, ain't nobody trying to go to, I can't go out partying, I'm trying to get disability, like, I can't be doing no death drops and stuff. People catch me on camera. And he was like, stop playing. Like, we could just go out for a drink or whatever. And so they, he set all of that up. Now, mind you, that was supposed to be Sabrina's job, but whatever, Calvin. And then Maurice started flirting with Calvin's father, talking about some, so how old is your other daddy again? I said, you know what, Maurice, if you don't sit yourself on that couch and mind your business. Now, back to the apartment. The rest of the episode we got another scene to talk about. But the majority of the episode pretty much happens in the apartment. So Andy comes through, and honey, she got all the samples because they looking for some hard liquor. Andy starts pulling out them samples out her purse that they have on the plane. Karen gonna say, did you steal these from your job? Girl, Danny gonna say, you can't steal from your job. But I think you can. And I think you could get fired for it. Danny. Anyway, honey, Andy couldn't drink them daggone little sample bottles fast enough. I mean, she was just trying to get towed up, which I understand 100%, child. And so Andy's feeling really bad because she done pulled Sabrina in on the caper with the whole situation. And she's like, girl, I'm going to clear my name. I'm going to clear your name. Don't worry about it. You're not going to lose your job. I got you. And of course, even if you clear your name, Sabrina still violated. She still broke rules. Like, she might not get in any criminal trouble, but she could still very much lose her job. Like, she could very well lose her job. Danny, of course, is being obnoxious. I can't even get into how obnoxious Danny was in this whole scenario. Like I said, she was always saying the wrong thing, saying too much, asking the wrong questions, saying just being ridiculous, being really, 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 really ridiculous. But she was, in some cases, asking some pretty valid questions. Okay. Like, one of the things Danny brought up was the fact that it doesn't look good. Like, she asked Andy point blank, like, were you in on it? And Andy was like, how you gonna ask me something like that? Danny was like, cause it looked like you were in on it. Like, this don't look good for you. Like, it's really, really bad optics. Which she ain't lying. That she ain't lying about. The optics are not good on this. Then Danny noticed that Karen had blood on her pants. And she was like, am I the only one? Like, don't nobody else see them blood on her pants? So then Karen had to tell the whole story about what happened at her house with the man getting shot and her mama stitching him up and taking him to the... Like, then she had to reiterate that whole story. But, yeah, she was sitting there the whole time with blood on her pants, and Danny was the first person to notice. I was like, well, mind you, the blood was still red, and if it had dried, it would have been brown. But, again, I'm not going to be nitpicky. So, while Andy is in the bedroom on the phone and on the computer and trying to get that stuff when she was talking to Fatima, Andy asked Sabrina point blank. Andy was like, so how much money was transferred? And Sabrina was like, girl, I can't tell you that. She was like, what you mean? Like, you about to lose your job. Like, you can't. How much money was transferred into Andy's account? $14 million. Why both Karen and Andy was like $14 million? And again, the optics don't look good. Like, when a man tells you he want to hide a little bit of money from his wife, meh. And I understand that this man had money, but $14 million transferred into your account. And again, I say, Sabrina, I know there has to be some sort of protocol for that kind of money. Like, come on. Like, all of y'all was just doing too much. So, let me go over here to Karen's apartment, and then we're going to finish up at the couch, child. So let me go over here to Karen's apartment. So over at Karen's apartment, Karen's ex-boyfriend is cleaning up the blood. And then the new boyfriend come walking up in the door. And let me tell you something. DeVal Ellis, I know that's not his character's name. I know that's his real name. But when I tell you it was hilarious, like, the scene was ridiculous, but hilarious all at the same time. He's telling the dude, like, listen, he was like, how you just gonna walk up in here? Like, you don't call before you show up? He was like, you just asking to find Karen. You don't know? And he was like, look, my friend. He was like, we ain't friends. Don't call me your friend. We ain't friends. He was like, fine. Can you just tell Karen I came by? He was like, hell no. He said, how I'm gonna deliver a message? How her new man gonna ask her ex-man to deliver a message? If you want her, you tell her yourself. You just gotta find her, right? And he was like, this is my blood all over the floor that I'm cleaning up. It's your fault. You don't feel no kind of way about this? And he was like, look, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you got in it. And then he gonna say, I know you feel some kind of way because you don't have a good job and you struggling. He was like, wait a minute. Because at first he was talking and then he caught himself and said, wait a minute. She talks to you about me? Like, she tells you my business? How you know I can't find a good job? Like, what are you talking about? So then Karen ends up calling. He was like, you know what? Don't worry about it. I think this is her calling me now. This is her calling me now. And it was her calling, asking if he could bring her some clothes over to Sabrina's house. So he said, you know what? I tell you what. You got a car. I know where she is. Give me a ride over there and then you can see her. And dude was like, how about you just give me the clothes and I'll take them to her? He was like, I know where she is. You don't. You give me, he was like, you got the car. I got the address. How about you take me? And I'm thinking to myself, after you done talked to this man crazy, you got the nerve to want to ask him to give you a ride. But of course he did it because he wanted to see Karen. Like, child, it was hilarious, but so ridiculous all at the same time. But it was a funny scene. It really was. It was a good scene. So we back over to the apartment, and who come calling on Karen's phone? Gary. Baby, when I tell you they all tripped over themselves to get to that phone, and when I tell you this scene, this moment was why you remember why they keep Danny around. They let Danny cuss that man out so bad. I mean, from the rooter to the tutor. And he was like, listen, I know it looks bad, but you gotta believe me. I'm being set up. I really need to talk to Andy. He was like, I know she's there. Like, I feel like she's there right now listening to this conversation. Andy, please, you gotta believe me, And Andy's getting weak. And now she want to talk to him. And when I tell you, it was again a funny scene with them falling all over each other, trying to make sure that Andy don't get to that phone so she won't talk to that man. And they eventually, now the conversation went on longer than it should have went on, child. Because he said his attorney was on the phone with them, but I never heard the attorney say nothing. And they eventually end up, Andy tries to talk to him or whatever, but Karen ends up ending the call. But of course, Andy, not before Andy really starts second guessing, and now she feeling bad because she feeling like, well, what if he is innocent? What if he's telling the truth? And of course, all of them are looking at her, girl, if you don't go sit your ass, child. But that's what we do. We fools for love. But Andy really needs to, I don't know where we going with this thing, honey. I don't know where we going. But anyway, Andy got himself an attorney. And in that phone call, he admitted that about the first wife. He said, something, my first wife. I said, oh, the first wife you didn't know nothing about when Andy came to visit you in jail. That wife. Child. Anyway, y'all let me know what y'all think. Drop it in those comments. Peace.